Cornerstone Retirement Partners presents Your Course to Retirement with Grand Rapids Certified Financial Planner Ron Corser and Nolan Gosley. Cornerstone Retirement Partners are planning today for the potential of tomorrow.
And welcome into the program. This is Your Course to Retirement with Grand Rapids Resource for a common sense approach to planning for information to help to uncomplicate and clarify the financial, the investment, the retirement planning world. He is president and founder of Cornerstone Retirement Partners, Ron Corser, CFP, and we always appreciate having you along for the ride to provide that perspective and guidance to Grand Rapids area savers and investors, Ron.
Well, good morning, everybody. And those of you driving to church today, be careful with driving. Always remember that I know you can't take notes when you're driving, so you can go to our website, www.cornerstone-rp.com. That's www.cornerstone-rp.com. And you can get into our website and listen to today's program and all the other programs that we've been doing for such a long time. So good morning to everybody. Welcome. Here it is, almost the end of August. My goodness. My daughter once told me the secret to why time seems to fly the older you get. And she said, Dad, it's like a roll of toilet paper. The closer you get to the end, the faster it goes. So I think that's probably where we are today in our life. It seems like we just got done with spring, typical Michigan weather, right? And then all of a sudden here, we're getting ready for fall. So the good news is that we're all alive and well, hopefully, and able to sit up and take nourishment. We're going to have an interesting conversation today about different kinds of savings accounts, investing accounts, and what's the difference between the two. We'll spend some time talking about Roth IRAs and IRAs accounts and just go forward from there. So if you have questions, please give our office a call at 616-301-2581. That's 616-301-2581. Or go to our website again, www.cornerstone-rp.com. Put your information in there and we'll reach out to you and provide the information that you need. So let's go forward, Peter. I'm ready.
Yeah, Ron, I took a look at the material for the outline of today's program, and it seemed like how do we begin to invest, and then what are our options for building our wealth kind of premise of the program today. And of course, after we've earned money, if we're disciplined enough not to spend that money, we've got money to do something with. And we know that money does a limited number of things. We pay taxes, we pay bills, we spend, and we save. And in this case, when we say save, it's kind of a general term. And what all goes under that term, we're going to be talking about today. How do we deploy our money to make sure that we are building wealth as effectively as possible? And so a lot of different options there, Ron. But again, the term save our money in this sense is kind of a general term. And we need to actually talk about the minutia of what saving is versus what investing is.
Well, it's probably got a lot to do with how we, each and every one of us, define the topic. I look at saving and investment. They're two different ideas, two different thoughts, two different things. What is investing? Investing is you take some money and you put it away and you're trying to get that money to grow, to increase in value over a longer period of time, because down the road, you're going to need that money to support yourself whenever you get to that thing called retirement. Savings, on the other hand, is money that you put somewhere in a bank, a 3-pound coffee can, under the mattress, wherever you're comfortable with it. And you're doing it with a really specific purpose in mind, such as, I want to build up my emergency fund account because who knows what'll happen, but I'm going to need some money. Or number 2, I want to save for a car. Or number 3, we want to save for a vacation. So savings involves really a specific, much shorter time frame for something to happen. Saving for college, believe it or not, is still shorter time than saying, oh, I'm going to save for my retirement 35 years from now. Investing, on the other hand, has to do with what am I trying to accomplish a long, long way down the road. I want whatever money I put into the different kinds of accounts that we have available to us to increase in value over the long run, knowing that there may be a little more risk involved in the investing part versus savings. but it's important to distinguish between the two.
Ron, is it fair to say that that difference is because in the long term, we are going to need more growth on our money than what we may require for a short-term purpose or intention? I mean, we're seeing inflation right now, and we know that that's ever present, although a little higher right now than we have traditionally experienced. But over the long term, by investing money, we have a better chance, stand a better chance of keeping up that purchasing power or growing money above the rate of inflation?
Well, that's certainly the hope, isn't it? And we hope that on a long-term basis, the value of the money we put into our investing accounts, tax deferred IRAs, 401ks, things like that, will grow over time. The difficult part is something we're experiencing this year. When we have volatile markets and we have a market where we're still underwater this year. Here we are almost 8 months into the year, and the markets are not in positive territory. So a lot of investors have experienced some of that pain of investing. Now you compare that with people, and we have a lot of clients that are doing it, that are putting more of their dollars into savings kinds of vehicles at the bank, fixed annuities, which are paying really great interest rates right now. And they have a specific purpose for it. And sometimes in bad markets, the specific purpose for money comes, you know what, I just don't want to lose any money. I'm going to put it in a 3-pound coffee can or somewhere, and that's what I'm going to do with it. And a lot of times people say to me, Ron, is that okay? And I say, absolutely. It's your money. You need to be really comfortable with what you're doing with it. And there's no really wrong advice you can give if somebody says, you know, I just want to hold on to my dollars. There's a lot of uncertainty out there. I get that. And that's not a problem with us at our firm. We respect everybody's rights to figure out how they want to allocate their money and their long-term investment plans and things like that. So if anybody's interested in giving us a call, 616-301-2581, we can have a discussion. And that's what it'll be. It'll be a discussion about things that are important to you. And we'll do the very best we can to give you the information you need to make really good decisions. You can also go to our website again, www.cornerstone-rp.com, put your information in there, and we will reach out to you and get you what you need to make really good decisions in your financial future.
616-301-2581, 616-301-2581, or the website cornerstone-rp.com for Cornerstone Retirement Partners, your resource, Grand Rapids, for comprehensive guidance, for proactive advice and strategies on making sure that your money is working for you, with you, along the path toward achieving your financial goals. Again, 616-301-2581. And Ron, I get that you're in jest slightly when you say in a coffee can, buried in the backyard, or under the mattress. The traditional place that we do savings is at a bank. And that's really the purpose for banks, is that they tell us to save our money. They offer the tools to do it: checking accounts, savings accounts, CDs, money markets, and those kind of accounts. But in honesty, when we save money at a bank, that's a liability to them because they have to pay us interest. So they, in turn, are not trying to save money. They don't store it in the back room in a vault under lock and key. They try to deploy it and invest it themselves as quick as possible. So there's a time, place, and purpose for savings, but there's also a need and a value for investing. And that's really where I think we're going to build the majority of our wealth over our lifetimes.
Yeah, that's very true. That's where the rubber meets the road. That's what we all hope will happen when we're 30 years old and we got a job and we started a 401k plan. We're hopeful that by the time we get to be 50 or 60 or 65, whatever that magic time is, that we're going to have enough money to get into that thing called retirement and live comfortably. But it's important to understand, and you touched on it a little earlier, Peter, money is not a good multitasker. A dollar bill is not a good multitasker. A dollar bill can do some things well, but it can't do everything well, because we go back to the 4 things that money does. You pay taxes, you spend it, you save it, you go to the casino and have some good times with it, what have you. You can't do everything with $1. So you have to really figure out how you're going to allocate your money. And most people are reasonably good at that. They really are. The difficulty sometimes comes with, okay, I've got this money in the 3-pound coffee can, so to speak. What am I going to do with it? Where should I put it? What should I do with it? This is my savings. I'm going to buy a car. This is the emergency fund. This is the money I want to give to the kids for Christmas, all those kinds of things. And then over here, I have this other bucket of money that's in my employer's retirement plan. That's what I'm trying to build up and have it grow and grow faster than normal, because I don't know what's going to happen down the road. And yet, as investors and savers, what are we faced with? We're faced with a year like we have this year, where there's a lot of volatility, there's a lot of uncertainty, there's a lot of confusion. And I'm not talking just about the political part, I'm just talking about the economic part. So what do we do? Where do we go? We're going to talk a little bit about that, and maybe some things that people can do in anticipation of things getting better. Understand, things don't always stay the same, even though it seems like it's always going to be this way. It isn't. Things will change. We know that if we just stand back, take a deep breath and say, okay, as a country, as an economy, we're probably going to get through this. What we don't know is how long it's going to take and what it's going to look like on the other side, but it will change. So what can we do now in anticipation of that change? We can figure out where to put our dollars, either our investment dollars or our savings dollars. Where can we put them that will give us the best opportunity to be profitable and the best potential to succeed in whatever our financial goals are? So that's what we're going to talk about going forward today. You can take some notes. And again, if you need more information or want to reach out to us, please call us at 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581, or go to our website, www.cornerstone-rp.com. It's www.cornerstone-rp.com. Please put your information in there. We will reach out to you. Now, this is the promise we also make, because sometimes I get this when people call in from the show. We're not going to chase you or hound you. If all you need is information, that's exactly what we'll provide. Our job is to help people the best way we can, given whatever help they need. And that's what we try to do. It's not about making you do something that you're uncomfortable with. So give us a call, 616-301-2581. We'll be more than happy to serve you.
And that's why they are your trusted resource, Grand Rapids, and all surrounding areas for comprehensive guidance, perspective on the financial world, answers to specific questions. Give Cornerstone Retirement Partners a call, 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581. And Ron, we are starting to see a few signs of improvement, or at least a decrease in the worsening of economic conditions. And we're hopeful that those do continue and things stabilize and improve, and some of the issues that we have been facing with the economy, with the market, with inflation, begin to ease. But after we have saved money for our emergency account, paid off some of those consumer debts, after we have earmarked any dollars that we are going to need for immediate larger purchases, then we want to grow and build wealth. And investing in any number of tools, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, there's a lot of them. We'll discuss several of them on today's program, but those are the tools that we commonly think about for investment. And there are several different ways that we can invest. You mentioned one of them, through our employer. And I think that's probably the most common way that Americans begin their investing, maybe buy their first mutual fund through their 401k. But actually, there is a way before that we on our own, without the need for an employer to offer us a plan, could do investing. And there is an important quality of non-qualified accounts, meaning that they are not specifically earmarked for the purpose of retirement, that we may find attractive for investment, even if it is not as long-term away as 59 and a half or beyond.
You know, it's interesting you use that term non-qualified. It becomes confusing and almost scary at times. What does non-qualified mean? I'm going to see if I can give you a simple definition. When you put money into a tax deferred account, an IRA or 401k, you qualify for a tax deduction. You qualify for a tax deduction. When you put money into accounts that aren't tax deferred, they're not a 401k, they're not an IRA, things like that, you don't qualify for a tax deduction. It's a non-qualified deposit into an account. So a non-qualified account simply means you don't qualify for a tax deduction. And that could be a savings account, a checking account, a brokerage account, a joint account that you held with the bank. Any of those things are non-qualified, meaning in the simplest way, they don't qualify for a tax deduction. So you can save both ways going forward. What's the advantage of using non-qualified accounts? Well, number one, you have easier access to your money, don't you? If you have money in the bank or you have money in a joint brokerage account or a mutual fund account that's non-qualified, you can always go in there and get it with a minimum of hassle and a minimum of a tax issue that you have to deal with. On the other hand, if you have an account that's qualified, meaning you got a tax deduction, a 401k, 403b, IRA, something like that, getting that money out can be a little more difficult, and there's always going to come with a tax consequence. And sometimes if you take money out and you're too young, under 59 and a half, there can be a penalty for doing that. So it's important to understand the two ways to save, and qualified versus non-qualified. They both work together. Most people have both accounts. Now, they may have more in an IRA or tax deferred account than they have, but we try to encourage our clients to use both accounts because they have different purposes. So let me explain further. A tax deferred account, think of it as a really long-term kind of account. It's something that you're going to use, hopefully not before you retire. It's just going to keep growing. Hopefully it'll keep compounding and the market won't take too much away in bad years like this year. The non-qualified stuff is the stuff that you use, the money you'll use for specific purposes. Buy a new car, go on a vacation, save for down the road because you like to buy stocks. We've got a lot of clients who, in addition to having us help them manage their investment accounts, they keep some money on their own because they enjoy the process of investing in some of their own ideas. So there's reasons to have both. They both work together really well. One's not better than the other. It's just, what do you want the money to do? You know, it always goes back to that question, isn't it? A really fundamental question about financial planning. What is it you want your money to do? So depending on how you do that, a non-qualified account in a bank or a brokerage account with us or your own broker, whoever you have, your financial advisor, may be a really good idea. There's some tax advantages to that too, and there are some tax disadvantages. So it's important to understand how all these things work together. And one of the things we try to help people understand is how you put together a rational investing plan over your lifetime. And that includes tax deferred accounts, that includes employer sponsored retirement accounts, IRA accounts or Roth IRA accounts that you create yourself, or non-qualified. Those, I'm going to use that word a lot. I can't be the savings accounts or joint brokerage accounts and things like that. How you put all of that together really depends on what your goals and values are. There's no wrong way to do it. There really isn't. Because understand something. One of the key things that all investing and savings does is it creates tax issues for us as investors and savers. Everything is going to be taxed some way, somehow. Even if you put it in a 3-pound coffee can and bury it in the backyard, when you take that money out and go buy something with those dollars, there's going to be a tax there. So the tax issue is always something that has to be considered when trying to figure out how do we allocate our money What kind of accounts will suit us best? And that can change over time. So the tax issue is important. The second issue is, do we have any big debts that we have to pay off? What do I mean by that? We have some clients that have some student debt. It's a real problem with some people. And so they're trying to get out from under it, and they face a dilemma. And the dilemma is, I can invest more in my 401k plan or 403b plan, or I can just do what I have to do to get the max distribution, whatever my employer is going to give me, and then take some of that extra that I would have put into this plan and use it to pay down debt. And that's a real consideration for a lot of people, because ultimately one of the keys to success long-term is to have minimum or no debt at some point in time in your life. I know for a lot of us, it's a very difficult thing, but it's a really great goal. So sometimes figuring out how much to save in these tax deferred accounts versus how much to pay off debt is a really important consideration, because too much debt can be a real anvil around your neck. So understand that our conversation today is really one that says, you're uniquely created. You have unique values and goals. God created you that way. And our job as a financial planning firm is to help you bring clarity, clarify those goals, make it clear what you're trying to accomplish, and create strategies that give you the best opportunity to be successful. So if this is important to you and you'd like to have a little conversation more about this, give us a call at 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581, or go to our website, please, at www.cornerstone-rp.com. Put your information in there. We'll reach out to you and provide whatever information you need, answer your questions any way we can to be of service to help you.
Ron, I'm glad you bring up the issue of taxation, because I think that is what separates several of these different segments of our discussion on how do we invest, how do we deploy our money? Do we defer taxes? Do we prepay taxes and then get them out of the way, done forever through Roth? Or do we pay taxes on income and then invest money that we can access at different times? And that last one that I mentioned is the first one that we're talking about here, non-qualified. And it may be kind of the easiest, most vanilla form of how do I begin investing? Well, you open an investment account and you deposit money and pick which investments you want within it and let the money grow. Now, here's the kicker. When that money grows, and depending on what you invest in, there can be some different and varying tax consequences on the growth. You've already paid money once on the seed, on the investment that you made, but on the growth, there's short-term versus long-term gains, depending on when you sell something. Something that surprised people in 2009 and unfortunately may surprise people again this year is that certain types of investments can actually lose value, and then you end up owing taxes because of internal sales and purchases within the investment itself. And then there are some investments that, even though it's not a retirement account, can give us further tax advantages within a non-qualified investment. We've heard about tax-free munis. We've heard about tax deferral available through annuities. So there are a range of tax implications there. And in all that, I guess I'm saying we really need to have a good understanding of what we are investing in and what those tax implications are going to be. Because, Ron, it's not what you make, it's what you keep.
It is true. What you make is important, but what you keep is even more important. And understanding the tax implication of different investment or savings decisions is something that every advisor should do. We're really good at it when we help our clients with this issue. It's always a case of, we're not going to let the tax dog take over everything, but taxes are important to talk about. They're not the most important thing to talk about, generally speaking, but they're important. So whether you're going to invest in a tax deferred account or that strange thing called an unqualified account, you need to understand the tax implication of all of it. And you need to have somebody guide you through some of these things so that it's really clear. The other thing that I tell folks is to understand what are the simplest ways sometimes to invest. Is there some way to invest on a tax deferred basis that gives you tax advantages, and also you can use non-qualified money? Is there such an account? And what I'm describing is a weird animal called a Roth IRA. Think about a Roth IRA. It's one of those that defies description, right? It's not, you don't get a tax deduction for money you put into the Roth IRA, but your money grows tax deferred. And if you structure it properly, the money comes out tax free. It's one of the most, I think, from my point of view, I've been doing this for 27 years now. I think it's one of the most overlooked types of accounts that people can have. And it's overlooked because a lot of times, maybe the tax person says, well, you want to reduce taxes now. And we're going to, after the break, we're going to get into this IRA versus Roth IRA discussion, because I think it's really important when it comes to trying to figure out what kind of accounts are appropriate for me going forward in terms of saving. What kind of accounts do I need? In terms of investing, what kind of accounts do I need? And what's the tax implication for all of it? So stay tuned. And again, if you have questions, give us a call at 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581, or go to our website, www.cornerstone-rp.com. Put your information in there. We'll reach out to you and get you the information you need to make really sound, good financial decisions for your family.
Again, the team from Cornerstone Retirement Partners, your resource, ladies and gentlemen. Give Ron Corser, CFP, and the team from Cornerstone Retirement Partners a call if you have any questions, whether it's just a couple quick financial questions that have been on your mind, or if you would like to take a look inside of your financial investment and retirement plan, do that forensic analysis and that course to retirement strategy session, the written retirement income plan designed specifically and customized just for you. 616-301-2581 is the number to call. That is 616-301-2581. No cost, no obligation for that time to get answers to your questions or for the complimentary review, the retirement planning strategy session, and your course to retirement plan. 616-301-2581. Quick break. We'll be back with more with Ron Corser, CFP, here on Your Course to Retirement. And welcome back to the program. This is Your Course to Retirement. I am Peter Rashan, alongside Grand Rapids Resource for a common sense approach to planning, perspective, and guidance on your money and your finances. Certified financial planning professional Ron Corser, CFP, founder there at Cornerstone Retirement Partners. If you've got questions or concerns about your money, your investments, your retirement accounts, pick up the phone and give them a call, 616-301-2581. That's 616-301-2581. Now, Ron, we have been giving an overview today of how to grow and build wealth, how to make decisions about where to and how to and in what to deploy our money, to invest our money, and make sure that we are making good, well thought through and informed decisions when doing so. And you spoke before the break about the Roth IRA and the potential benefits and the value there of that Roth IRA. We wanted to dig into a little deeper discussion about the differences between a traditional retirement account or a Roth retirement account.
Yeah, let's think about this. So let's kind of imagine a timeline. Here we are today, and we've got 35 years to save, or 25, whatever the time might be. Long term 401k, 403b, IRA accounts. Kind of long term non-qualified accounts, joint brokerage accounts, investment accounts, maybe shorter term savings accounts with banks. So then we come to this thing called a Roth IRA. Where does that fit in? It's like the Swiss Army knife on this continuum. It can be short term, it can be long term, it can be middle term. What do I mean by that? Well, let's take a look and compare an IRA to a Roth IRA. With an IRA account, we all know that when you put money in, you get a tax deduction. Now, if you're over 50, you can put $7,000 into an IRA. If you're under, it's $6,000. That doesn't mean if you put $6,000 into an IRA this year that you get a $6,000 tax deduction. You only get a tax deduction based on whatever the rate is that you pay in income taxes.
So for instance, if we put in
bracket,
yeah,
and you put 5,000 in, you're going to save $1,000 in tax. You're going to get a deduction, which is going to lower your taxable income by $1,000.
Equivalent to our proportional tax rate.
Yeah. So a Roth IRA, you don't get a tax break for that. You're putting in after-tax dollars. But things grow tax deferred. And if you do it long enough and you get to be 59 and a half or older, and you've had it for more than 5 years, everything that comes out of that Roth account is totally tax-free. Now, here's the thing that sometimes people overlook. The money you put into a Roth account, if you're 30 years old and you put $6,000 into a Roth account today, and next year you need $6,000 to pay a bill, you can go into your Roth account and take out what you deposited, your $6,000. You have to leave the growth if there's been growth, but you're allowed any time to go in and take out what you put in. So think about that. Here you have a tax deferred savings account. You didn't get a tax break when you put the money in, but it's growing tax deferred. But if you really needed the money, you could go in and take out what you put in. You have to leave the growth. How is that different from an IRA? No matter when you go in and take money out of an IRA, you have to pay tax on it. And if you're under 59 and a half, you're going to pay an early withdrawal penalty of about 10% unless you meet certain qualifications to avoid that. So one of the advantages of Roth planning and investing is that you have a lot more flexibility. Yes, you're using after-tax dollars, but why would somebody, given a choice, why would somebody want to put, say, $6,000 if you're under 50 into a Roth IRA versus an IRA? Why would you do that? Well, you have to answer that question by answering this question. Do you think over the next 5 or 10 years, what you pay in income tax at the federal and state level and maybe local level, do you think 5 or 10 years from now or 20 years from now, it will be about what you're paying now? You'll pay less, or will it be more? Most people, when asked that question, say, I think we're going to pay more. So then that becomes one of the key decision criteria, doesn't it, for determining, should I put that $6,000 if I'm under 50 into a Roth or into an IRA? If you think taxes are going up, then what you're really saying is that we're probably in the lowest tax environment we're ever going to be in. And a great example of that is this most recent flare-up that we had down in Washington, D.C. with a big, it's called Inflation Reduction Act or whatever it's called. Buried inside of there are tax increases on everybody. So probably taxes are going to go up. That means, yes, if you do some of this Roth investing now, you'll give up a tax deduction now. But down the road, it may be an incredibly good decision because you won't pay tax on that. And sometimes people say, well, they're going to change the tax rules. They're not going to change the tax rules on Roth accounts. What they may do is say, somewhere down the road, effective the 1st of January, tax Roth accounts are no longer allowed.
No longer available in your area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a real advantage to that, to thinking about a Roth account and the fact that you do have access to some of the money that you put in there without harm, without penalty. Now, who's available? I mean, the availability to people to use Roth versus IRA is even greater with a Roth than it is in terms of income limitations. Both an IRA and a Roth IRA have income limitations. So with a Roth IRA, for example, a married couple, if you have income, just an income under $204,000, you both qualify to put away $6,000 a year if you're under 50, or $7,000 if you're over 50. That means a couple can save $12,000 to $14,000 a year in a Roth account, as long as they meet the income limitation the way it is now. For a single person, it's $129,000. That's why I think this is one of the most overlooked places to put money on a longer term basis. When we talk to our CPAs, they do a great job of trying to minimize what we pay in tax. That's their primary job. And
Now,
plus,
Ron, I do want to clarify here. You said into a Roth account, but if we're going to hit that couple's limit of $7,000 a piece, each person has to open their own account, because after all, it is an individual retirement account. They're always in one person's name, right?
Yeah. Thanks for clearing that up. Yep, that's true. So the question becomes, why would you, when you take your tax stuff to your tax guy, their primary purpose is to say, well, we're going to reduce taxes. Let's do that. I, on the other hand, take a look and say, I think what we're going to pay tax down the road is going to go through the ceiling. That's just me. So I'm going to pay a little bit of tax on this money now to avoid a much bigger tax bill down the road. So that's a decision everybody has to make. Most people like tax deductions. I do. I don't want to pay more in tax than I have to.
Sure. Yeah.
But sometimes you just make a decision of saying, if you ask a farmer, would he rather pay tax on the seed or the crop? Farmers are pretty smart. They're probably going to say, I'll pay tax on the seed, not the crop. And that's really what we try to do with a Roth IRA account, to pay tax on the seed and not the crop that we harvest from that.
If taxes do go up into the future, Ron, this is certainly a money saving opportunity. And I think a bill is easier to pay while we're earning a paycheck than to try to budget out of our finite, limited retirement nest egg anyway. And compound interest says that even if the rate is the same, if the money doubles, we're going to pay more dollars into the future. Now, effectively, we could be an equivalent situation if tax rates stay the same, but that's a big if in my mind.
Well, I'm going to do this on a radio program, and I'm going to ask everybody to put on your imaginary thinking caps. So how do we answer the question? What's better, a Roth or an IRA? And I didn't make this up. This came from Ed Slott, where I'm a master lead advisor with Ed Slott, and he once answered the question, what's better? Think about this. Let's pretend you have $100,000 in two accounts. One's you're gonna put $100,000 into an IRA, and the other $100,000 is going to go into a Roth IRA, but you got to pay tax to get the money in there. Let's say you're at 25% tax rate. So in your IRA, you got 100,000. In the Roth IRA, you have to pay tax on that 100. So now you're at 75. So let's go 10 years down the road, and you invest in the very same equities mutual funds, and the market goes up 7% a year for 10 years. So that means in the IRA account, you put 100 in, now you have 200,000. Pretty good, right? In the Roth IRA account, you put 75 in after tax. Now you have 150. So which one is better? You still don't have the right answer. The question becomes, what if taxes don't change? What if you're still in the 25% effective tax bracket? So the 150,000 you have in a Roth is never going to be taxed again. The 200,000 you have in the IRA is going to be taxed 25%. So where are we? If we take all the money out, now we're back to 150, aren't we?
We're in the same place.
So see, if taxes never change, it doesn't make any difference. But if taxes go up, it makes a huge difference if you think they're going to go up. That's why, as a financial advisory firm, and me personally, my wife and I do most of our investing in Roth accounts. Now, the other advantage that a Roth account has, particularly for those that are whose primary savings vehicle might be the 401k or the 403b. If you're blessed to have a 401k or 403b Roth account, you can defer all your employee deferrals into that Roth account.
Your own
yes,
money.
You will pay a little more in tax, but that's a really convenient way to do it, and you're not subject to any income limitations. You can defer all of your employee, no matter how much money you make or how little you make, into the Roth 401k or 403b Roth account if you have them.
Not the employer match, not the employer contributions.
Employer
the
match
money
has to stay in the tax deferred part.
Right.
Tax deferred, whatever the employee does stays in the tax deferred account.
Of course.
So my free advice to everybody, and because it's free, means you don't have to take it. My free advice is if you have a 401k Roth or 403b Roth, is to really take advantage of that and fund it as fully as you possibly can. Because 5, 10, 15 years from now, that's going to be precious dollars for you going forward in retirement.
Ron, I hear what you say about if taxes stay the same or if taxes go up, but I think that when the 401k really caught hold and began becoming popular after ERISA, the 1970s, and really the early part of the 1980s, the general thinking behind the value of that tax deferred 401k was that taxes may be lower into the future, but the big one was that I will need less money, less income in retirement. Therefore, I will personally be in a lower tax bracket or tax rate. And now, flash forward 35 years, what we're finding is that tax rates have come down significantly. But I think that second one, the primary one, of I will be in a lower tax bracket hasn't really held true because the cost of living has increased. So somebody might be asking themselves, well, what if tax rates go up, but my income goes down? Well, flash back 10, 20 years. Has your need for income come down? Flash forward 10 to 20 years. Can we reasonably expect a reduction in need for income in retirement?
Yeah, that used to make sense. And I could argue it. When I got in this business in 1994, it still kind of made sense. But here's one of the key things that changed. And it changed when Ronald Reagan was president, and then when Bill Clinton became president, is up until the Reagan tax bill of 1982, Social Security was a tax-free benefit. It was tax-free. Now it's a potentially tax benefit. And for a lot of people, it is. So Social Security actually increases your taxable income. So the idea that we're going to have less taxable income in retirement than we have today may make some sense if you're making $100,000 a year after tax and you're only living on $75,000. So yeah, when you retire, maybe you're going to figure out how to live on a little less that's taxable. But by and large, with tax rates continuing to go up, and there's other taxes to consider. See, that's the thing that a lot of us overlook sometimes. We tend to think only in terms of income taxes, and that's what we've talked about so far with Roth accounts. But there's so many other taxes we pay. It's been estimated in the state of Michigan, I saw this a few years back, there's over 250 different taxes that we end up paying. You know, there's sales tax, there's gas tax, there's real estate taxes, there's all kinds of taxes. And that just takes away money from us. And as those taxes go up, we invariably end up paying a lot of them with after-tax money. So think about this. We go to the grocery store, what do we pay groceries? After-tax money. We pay real estate taxes. What do we pay real estate taxes with? After-tax money. What do we pay gas taxes with? After-tax money. So we're paying these extra taxes on top of the money that's already been taxed that we've earned. So the idea that we're probably going to have less income, maybe not so much. Here's the other problem. And we see it a lot when one of the spouses die. And all of a sudden, they have to fill out an individual tax return instead of a married tax return. And invariably what I hear is, oh my goodness, the tax guy really got a hold of me. I'm paying as much in tax almost as I did when we were married. That's because deductions go down and things like that. So you have to be careful of that thinking that says, when I retire, I'm going to have less taxable income. It may be possible depending on, you know, if you really have socked away all your money in Roth accounts and you paid enormous taxes going into retirement, that's possible. but for most people, that isn't likely. So it's one of those issues that you have to be very aware of and take a look at it in your own specific situation. Don't just believe that, well, everybody's going to pay less in tax when you retire. That isn't necessarily true, and it's not necessarily going to be what you as a retiree experiences when that wonderful time comes. So if some of what we talked about is making a little sense or got your attention, give us a call at 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581, or please go to our website, www.cornerstone-rp.com, www.cornerstone-rp.com. Please put your information in there. We'll reach out to you. We won't hound you. We'll just provide the information you need so that you can make great financial decisions for yourself and your family.
Again, www.cornerstone-rp.com. Fantastic additional resources available there at the website, and you can request specific guidance or ask questions to get specific answers. You can also find those by calling and talking with the team directly. 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581. Ron, as we are continuing the conversation and nearing the end of it, a couple things that we do need to discuss is there are some questions that have no answer. Which one is the best is something that we can try to arrive at a conclusion at through the planning process. But we actually hear a couple very common questions. What are the fees in my Roth versus my 401k or my IRA? And what is the rate of growth going to be in my Roth? That's a simple situation of not enough information. It's not that those questions can't be answered, but just the type of account is not going to give us enough information to answer those questions, correct?
No, it won't. In terms of returns, sometimes I get the question when we talk about folks for the first time, the concept of a Roth, the question is, well, what can I earn in a Roth? What can I invest in a Roth? And the answer is the same things you can invest in an IRA, and in many ways, the same things you invest in your 401k at work, mutual funds, stocks, bonds, things like that, whatever's available. The idea of how much you pay in terms of costs, that depends. Now, there was a new ruling that went into effect a few months ago. For example, when a client comes to us and they're going to roll over their 401k to an IRA, and we're going to help them create an investment strategy and an income strategy for that, there's a form we have to fill out. It's required by law that has to be filled out that compares the costs and operations and offerings of where they are now and whatever account they're in versus why I'm suggesting or we're suggesting they consider moving their accounts to, say, our firm. It spells out very clearly what the offer is, what the costs are, and what the advantages or disadvantages are. So that's an important document, and it's an important conversation to have. And when it comes to cost, I get it. I understand it. That's an important consideration. But it's also an important consideration to consider are you getting value for whatever it is you're trying to accomplish? Are you getting the help you need? And it's always an individual person's decision to make one way or the other. A lot of times in our industry, we've been taught to minimize cost, and that's true. I mean, it makes sense, doesn't it, to minimize cost in everything? But it also depends on what you're going to get for that. It always is, what's the value that I get? What is it that I need to have help with? That determines if there's a rational choice to make between no cost or whatever the cost may be that an individual advisor or our firm might assess on the accounts. So it's an important discussion to have. We have it very openly. There's nothing we hide. We believe that the services and value we add to somebody is worth it. And we welcome the question. We always do.
Yeah. And I can reduce cost of automobile maintenance by not changing my oil or choosing not to change the oil filter, but eventually those costs are going to find me, Ron. So there's always something to be said for the value that you receive for paying certain costs. And we have to understand and clearly define what the costs are, but also what the expectations and goals are for paying those costs, and make sure that we're meeting those on an ongoing basis. And I know that that is why you stay in close touch and communication with your clients to make sure that they understand what is going on in the financial world and how their accounts are performing to meet their specific goals and objectives. So again, ladies and gentlemen, pick up the phone, give a call, have an introductory conversation with Ron Corser, CFP, and the team from Cornerstone Retirement Partners. 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581. Ron, to wrap up the final bit of the program, there is a difference in investing for growth versus investing for income. And regardless of the account types that we've set up or the investment tools that we have used inside of those accounts, when we reach that transitional point and we need our savings and investments to generate income for us, we need to have a plan that is reflective of that transition and of those now new needs from our money.
You know, that is a great observation. There's a real difference between investing for growth and income. And let's think this through here. Let's pretend, Peter, you're going to retire this Friday.
Woo-hoo.
You're going to leave your job. What's the most important thing you need on Monday morning?
The ability to pay my bills is going to come that next Friday.
Yeah, because I'm quite sure that people to whom you are indebted are not going to think too highly of you if you don't pay them. So the key issue is, how do I get the income I need to retire? That's the key question and issue. And that's where we can be a great help to people, because there's a difference in investing for income in retirement versus investing just for growth. You need to do both in retirement. But the first and foremost, you have to lock in your income from all sources: pensions, Social Security, and whatever income you can get off of your investment accounts. And within those investment accounts, there are certain kinds of investments, securities, that provide more income than others. So that has to be built into the program. But first and foremost, when somebody's getting close to retirement, they have to get their number. And what's that number? We've talked about it a lot. The number is not the $2 million that everybody says you need. The number is, how much income do I need in retirement to retire and maintain my lifestyle? That's your number. And that includes pension, Social Security, and then whatever we have to make up out of your life savings. That's what's going to get you through retirement. Yes, you can have a portion of that life savings that's designated specifically for growth because you need it. You need both. But to create an income plan that's based solely on growth, how's that working this year? Market's down about 20%. So it's a bit difficult. So we can be a great help to you, because it's one of the things that we can help you. We can help tailor an income plan for you in retirement that meets your needs, that gives you the best potential and opportunity to be successful in retirement, that's flexible enough to be adaptable to whatever in the world is going on in this economy and our environment. But it's the kind of plan that will give you peace of mind, so that whether the markets are going up or down, you know that every month you're going to have all the money you need coming into your checkbook to pay your bills, do some fun stuff, enjoy retirement, and still have the opportunity for a portion of your life savings to continue to grow to support you in the future. So if this is important, please give us a call. 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581, or go to our website, www.cornerstone-rp.com. That's www.cornerstone-rp.com. Put your information in there. We'll reach out to you and give you the information you need to make really sound decisions for you and your family in your financial future.
Well, Ron Corser, CFP, and the team from Cornerstone Retirement Partners believe that everyone can and everyone deserves to feel confident about their money and finance, and that this comes as a result of good information and proper education. That's their mission, to provide that to their clients there at Cornerstone Retirement partners and to radio show listeners to begin that educational process so that you can feel more confident in your money, with your finances, and in your planning future success. So pick up the phone and give a call if you've got questions that you would like to get answered, or if you would like to set up a time for that initial discussion, that complimentary financial portfolio and retirement review and evaluation and strategy session, as well as getting your proprietary course to retirement written retirement income plan. They're available only at Cornerstone Retirement Partners through their process. Pick up the phone and give a call, 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581. Ron, we always appreciate your time, the perspective and guidance, the information that you do provide in that mission here on Your Course to Retirement.
Well, thank you. And thank you to everybody listening to today's program. Have a blessed Sunday, and I'll talk to you next week. Take care.
Tune into Cornerstone Retirement Partners' full radio program, Your Course to Retirement, Sunday mornings at 9 o'clock at News Radio WOOD, or visit cornerstone-rp.com for many valuable resources, including those mentioned on this show and other great episodes of Your Course to Retirement.
The content of this radio show is provided for informational purposes only and is not a solicitation or recommendation of any investment strategy. You are encouraged to seek investment, tax, or legal advice from an independent professional advisor.
Ed Slott's Elite IRA Advisor Group is solely an indication that the financial advisor has attended training provided by Ed Slott and Company, passed biannual examinations on material covered at conferences and in webinars, and met other membership requirements, and does not constitute an endorsement of any kind. Ed Slott's Elite IRA Advisor Group members pay a fee for the educational programs that allow them to be included in the Ed Slott's Elite IRA Advisor Group. Membership does not guarantee investment success. Fiduciary duty extends solely to investment advisory advice and does not extend to other activities such as insurance or broker-dealer services.
Advisory services offered through Brookstone Capital Management, a registered investment advisor.
Advisory clients are charged a quarterly fee for assets under management, while insurance products pay a commission, which may result in a conflict of interest regarding compensation.
Any investments and/or investment strategies mentioned involve risk, including the possible loss of principal. Any comments regarding safe and secure investments and guaranteed income streams refer only to fixed insurance products. They do not refer in any way to securities or investment advisory products. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Withdrawals or growth from annuities may be taxable as ordinary income in the year it is taken. Individuals should review contracts for specific details of the products featured